Arizona Territory, March 1883. 6 wanted men crossed into Red Rock under a sky the color of dried blood. The Blackwood Gang. Killers every one. Wade Blackwood rode at the front, tall in the saddle, a man who'd never known consequence. Behind him, 5 shadows with guns and bad intentions. They saw what they wanted to see. A dusty mining town dying slow. 300 souls scraping silver from played-out veins. 1 saloon, 1 store, 1 church that hadn't seen a full house in months. The kind of place where a man with guns could take what he pleased. They didn't see the red-haired woman watching from the Lucky Dollar saloon window. Didn't notice how her hands stilled on the glass she'd been cleaning. How her green eyes tracked their approach with the precision of a hunter sighting prey. Her name was Evangeline Thorne, 27 years old. Pretty in that wholesome way that made men think of wives and Sunday dinners. She'd been serving whiskey in Red Rock for 2 years. Kept her head down, smiled at the right times. Nobody looked too close. Nobody knew that Evangeline Thorne didn't exist. The woman in that window was Seraphina Calloway, daughter of Colonel Josiah Calloway, the greatest Army scout the Southwest had ever produced. They'd called him the Hawk for the way he saw everything, for the way he struck fast and clean, and always from the angle you didn't expect. 7 years ago, the Blackwood Gang had ambushed her father on a Montana road, 12 against 1. They'd captured him, tortured him for information about Army gold shipments, made it last, made it hurt. When they finally put bullets in him, they burned the body and rode off like it was just another Tuesday. Seraphina had watched from the rocks where her father had told her to hide. 20 years old, helpless. She'd heard every scream, every plea that wasn't really a plea, because Colonel Josiah Calloway didn't beg. He'd died hard. He'd died knowing his daughter was watching. She'd run. 3 days through wilderness with nothing but the clothes on her back and the sound of her father's death rattling in her skull. Found a ranch house, collapsed. Woke up in the care of a woman named Delilah Ashford, who asked no questions and expected no answers. That was 7 years ago. 7 years of training. 7 years of tracking. 7 years of becoming something her father had never intended. He'd taught her to shoot to protect herself. She'd taken those lessons and gone further, faster, deadlier. Every penny she earned went to ammunition. Every spare hour went to practice. Draw and fire, draw and fire. 1,000 times, 10,000, until her hands knew the weight of the Colt better than they knew anything else. Until she could put 6 rounds through a playing card at 30 paces. She'd hunted them methodical. The Blackwood Gang had scattered after her father's death. She found them one by one. Tracked them to saloons and brothels and hideouts in the territories where law was just a word people said sometimes. 8 men dead over 6 years. Not murder, never murder. She'd wait until they drew first, until they threatened someone, until the kill was clean and legal and absolutely justified. But she'd never found the 2 that mattered. Wade Blackwood, Silas Blackwood, father and son, the architects of her father's torture, until today. The 6 riders hitched their horses outside the Lucky Dollar. Spurs jingled, leather creaked. Wade Blackwood stepped through the door like he owned the place. 35 years old, handsome in that dangerous way, dark hair, dark eyes, smile that had probably charmed 100 women before he showed them what he really was. The saloon went quiet, not silent, quiet. The kind of quiet that meant everyone had stopped pretending not to notice the armed men who'd just walked in. Evangeline Ava to the locals kept wiping the bar, steady hands, pleasant expression. Nothing in her face to suggest that her heart was hammering against her ribs. That every instinct her father had drilled into her was screaming. This was it. 7 years of waiting, 7 years of hunting, and the prey had walked through her door. Wade's eyes found her immediately. They always did. Pretty redhead. Alone. Vulnerable. Every predator in the West knew that look. Knew that opportunity. He crossed to the bar. His men spread out. Professional. Watching angles. Blocking exits. They'd done this before. "Whiskey," Wade said. His voice was smooth, educated. Some men wore their evil obvious. Wade Blackwood wrapped his in silk. Eva poured. Her hands didn't shake. 7 years of practice meant her hands never shook. "You're new," Wade said. It wasn't a question. 2 years, Eva replied. Neutral. Pleasant. The voice of a woman who'd learned to be invisible. 2 years. Wade tasted the whiskey. Good stuff. Delilah Ashford ran a quality establishment. Funny, a woman like you in a place like this seems like a waste. Making a living same as anyone. Wade smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. My father owns most of this territory. Silas Blackwood. You heard of him? The name hit her like a fist, but Ava's face stayed smooth. Years of practice, years of learning to control every tell, every micro-expression, the skills her father had taught her for reading enemies she'd turned inward, made herself unreadable. Can't say I have mister. Can't say I have mister, Wade repeated, mocking her gentle. That's polite. I like polite. You know what I don't like? Eva said nothing, poured whiskey for the other men crowding the bar. I don't like being lied to, Wade continued. And I think you're lying. I think everyone in this dead-end town knows exactly who Silas Blackwood is. I think they see us ride in and they piss themselves a little. One of his men laughed. Crooked Pete, they called him, face like a clenched fist, scars from a knife fight that had taken most of his left ear. Eva met Wade's eyes, held them, not defiant, not submissive, neutral. I serve drinks, mister. Politics and names aren't my business. Wade studied her, long enough that Eva felt the weight of it, long enough that she calculated distances. 6 men, 6 bullets in her Colt hidden under the bar, more in the Winchester behind the whiskey shelf. But 6 men with guns already drawn was suicide math. Her father's voice in her head, don't fight when you can't win, fight when fighting is the only option. Finally Wade smiled again. I'm going to like this town. The Blackwood gang settled in, took a table, ordered food, acted like civilized men except for the way they looked at everything, at everyone, like wolves counting sheep. Delilah Ashford emerged from the back, 58 years old, gray hair pulled tight, eyes that had seen every kind of trouble the West could offer. She'd run the Lucky Dollar for 20 years, outlived 2 husbands and a territory war. Nothing rattled her. But Eva saw the tightness around Delilah's mouth when she spotted the Blackwood gang, saw the way her eyes flicked to Eva. A question, a warning. Eva gave the smallest shake of her head. Not yet, not now. The day ground on. The gang drank, made noise. Wade told stories about towns they'd rolled through, merchants who'd paid protection, sheriffs who'd looked the other way. He told it like adventure, like fun. Laughed at the parts where people got hurt. Eva served, smiled, kept her mouth shut and her ears open. Military discipline. Her father had taught her that too. Observe, process, plan. She learned their names. Crooked Pete, Snake-Eyed Jack, named for the dice tattoo on his neck. Henry Moss, quiet one, dangerous. The Miller twins, both stupid, both mean. And Wade at the center, the spider in the web. Night fell. The saloon filled with locals trying to act normal, trying to ignore the predators at the corner table. Red Rock didn't have much law. Sheriff Hiram Cobb wore a badge, but everyone knew he was bought, took money from whoever had it. Right now, that was Silas Blackwood. Deputy Nathaniel Bridger came in around 8, 24 years old, earnest, honest. Everything a lawman should be, except experienced enough to matter. He saw Eva and his face did what it always did, lit up like Christmas. Nate Bridger had been trying to court Eva since the day she arrived, polite about it, respectful. Asked her to church socials and town dances. She always said no, always gentle, because Nate was a good man, and good men deserved better than women carrying 7 years of violence in their hearts. Evening, Miss Eva, Nate said, removing his hat. Deputy. She poured him coffee. He never drank on duty, one of the things she respected about him. Strangers in town. Nate's eyes went to the Blackwood table. Know anything about them? Just passing through, I expect. Hope so. Nate sipped his coffee. Town's got enough trouble without adding more. He wasn't wrong. Red Rock was dying. Silver veins played out. Half the buildings empty. People leaving every month for better prospects. Another year and this place would be a ghost town. Nothing but wind and memories. Wade Blackwood noticed Nate, rose from his table, crossed to the bar with that easy confidence of a man who'd never lost a fight. Deputy, Wade said, friendly, all teeth. Wade Blackwood, just rode in with my associates. Wanted to introduce myself proper. Nate stood, matched Wade's height but not his presence. Wade had that thing, that magnetism that dangerous men sometimes carried, the kind that made weak people follow and strong people wary. Nathaniel Bridger, you boys planning on staying long? Few days, maybe a week. Depends on the hospitality. Wade's eyes slid to Ava, lingered. So far it's been real accommodating. We're a peaceful town, Nate said. Edge in his voice now. Protective. Like to keep it that way. Peace? Sure, we love peace. Wade clapped Nate on the shoulder, too familiar, establishing dominance. Long as everyone's reasonable, we won't have any problems. It was a threat wrapped in courtesy. Nate heard it. Everyone heard it. But what could he do? They hadn't broken any laws. Yet. Wade returned to his table. Nate lingered at the bar. Miss Eva, he said quietly, those men are trouble. Most men are deputy. I mean real trouble, the kind that gets people killed. He met her eyes. You need anything, anything at all, you come find me. Eva felt something crack inside her chest. This boy, this good, decent boy trying to protect her when he had no idea what she really was, what she was capable of. I appreciate that, Nate. He smiled, left. Eva watched him go and felt the weight of all her lies. 3 days passed, 3 days of the Blackwood gang owning Red Rock. They didn't rob anyone, didn't kill anyone. They didn't have to. Their presence was enough. People paid them just to go away. Shopkeepers, the hotel. Even Delilah slid Wade a bag of coins to ensure her saloon stayed intact. Wade liked Eva, watched her constant, made comments. Nothing you could arrest a man for, but everything that made skin crawl. She endured it, smiled, played her part, but the cracks were showing. On the third night, Crooked Pete got drunk, meaner than usual. A saloon girl named Mary brought him the wrong whiskey. He grabbed her wrist, twisted. Mary cried out. Eva was moving before she thought about it. Years of training, muscle memory. She had a paring knife in her hand from cutting limes. 3 steps. The blade pressed against Crooked Pete's throat hard enough to dimple skin. Let her go. The saloon went silent. Real silent this time. Every eye on Eva and the drunk killer and the knife that had appeared from nowhere. Crooked Pete froze, felt the blade, felt how steady her hand was, how professional the hold. This wasn't fear making her shake. This was control. Lady, he growled, you just made a mistake. Let her go. Wade stood, slow, watching Eva with new eyes, calculating eyes. Crooked Pete released Mary. Eva stepped back, lowered the knife, but she didn't apologize, didn't look away. Well, Wade said softly, that was interesting. Eva set the knife down. She's just a girl. Didn't deserve that. Noble. Wade approached, studied her like she was a puzzle he needed to solve. Where'd a saloon girl learn to handle a blade like that? My father taught me. Truth. Easier than lies. Your father. Wade circled her. And what did your father do? He's dead. Sorry to hear that. But before he died, what did he do that required teaching his daughter knife work? Eva met his eyes. Let him see steel there. Just a flash. He taught me what men like your friend there always forget. Women aren't helpless. Wade laughed. Genuine delight. I like you. I really do. What's your name, your real name? Evangeline Thorne. Evangeline Thorne. He tasted it. Pretty name, but I don't think it's yours. I think you're running from something. Or maybe toward something. He was too close. Too smart. Eva felt the moment tilting, felt 7 years of careful planning threatening to unravel because she'd let emotion override discipline. Delilah intervened, stepped between them. Mr. Blackwood, my girl was just protecting my employee. No harm meant. Wade didn't look at Delilah, kept his eyes on Eva. No harm, sure, but Miss Evangeline here moves like cavalry, thinks like military. That's not saloon training. That's something else. He touched Eva's hand, the one that had held the knife, turned it over, looked at the scar on her palm. Small, old, powder burn from when she'd been 12 and learning to shoot her father's rifle. Interesting, Wade murmured. He released her, returned to his table. But everything had changed. Eva felt it. The predator had scented prey. That night after the saloon closed, Delilah found Eva cleaning glasses with hands that finally shook. You need to leave, Delilah said. Tonight, before he figures it out. I can't. Girl, he's suspicious. He's going to start asking questions, digging. And when he finds out who you really are, when he connects you to Josiah Calloway, he'll kill you. Or worse, he'll take you to his father. Eva set down the glass. Delilah, I've waited 7 years for this. 7 years of tracking, planning. I'm not running now. This isn't hunting anymore. You're exposed. They know something's wrong with you. Then I moved the timeline up. Delilah grabbed Eva's shoulders. Listen to me. I loved your father like a brother. When you showed up half dead on my doorstep, I swore I'd keep you safe. But I can't protect you from this. 6 killers against 1 woman. Those are suicide numbers. My father faced worse. Your father died, Eva. Died screaming. You want to end up the same way Eva pulled away. I want justice. I want the men who tortured him to know what it feels like to be hunted, to be afraid. I want Silas Blackwood to understand he didn't break the Calloway line. He just made it sharper. Pride. Your father would call this pride. My father would call this duty. They stared at each other. 2 women who'd survived the West's worst, who'd buried people they loved and kept moving because stopping meant dying. Finally, Delilah sighed. Then we do this smart. We prepare. We get help. Who's going to help Sheriff Cobb's bot? Nate's a boy with a badge. This town's full of miners and merchants, not soldiers. There's Doc Thatcher. Eva frowned. The doctor. He's more than that. Came to Red Rock 5 years ago. Never talks about his past. But I've seen his hands. Those are surgeon's hands, military surgeon, and the way he carries himself. That's not civilian. You think he was Army? I think he's got secrets same as you, and I think if he knew Josiah Calloway's daughter was in trouble, he'd help. The next morning, Eva visited Doc Cornelius Thatcher. Found him in his office above the general store. 65 years old, white hair, wire spectacles, hands steady as bedrock. He looked up when she entered. No surprise. Like he'd been expecting her. Miss Thorne, he said. Or should I call you Miss Calloway? Eva's hand went to the gun she'd started carrying. Doc Thatcher raised his hands, calm, non-threatening. I'm not your enemy, Serafina. I served with your father, 15 years ago, Fort Benton. I was the post surgeon. Josiah saved my life during an Apache raid. I've owed the Calloway family a debt ever since. Eva's hand stayed on the gun. How long have you known? Since the day you arrived. That scar on your hand. Josiah showed me that same scar on his daughter when she was 12. Proud as hell. Told me she could outshoot half his scouts. And you said nothing. You were hiding for a reason. I respected that. But now the Blackwood gang's here and you're about to do something stupid. So I'm saying something. Eva lowered her hand. They killed him. Tortured him for hours. I was there. I heard everything. Doc's face went hard. Old pain there. Old anger. I know. Word reached Fort Benton 6 months after. I tried to find you. Tracked you to Montana. Trail went cold. Figured you were dead too. Almost was. Delilah saved me. And now you're planning revenge. Justice. Semantics. Doc stood, crossed to her. Serafina, you're good. Maybe as good as Josiah. But you're not invincible. 6 trained killers will put you down no matter how fast you are. Then what do? Let them leave, spend another 7 years hunting. No, you be smart, you prepare, you stack the deck. He paused. There's a man, former cavalry scout, name's Ezekiel Grayson. Rode with your father, lives about 120 miles north, 3 hard days' ride. If I sent word, he'd come. 1 more gun doesn't change the math. 1 more tactical mind does. Zeke taught your father half of what he knew. Between the 3 of us, we might have a chance. Eva wanted to say no, wanted to keep this personal. Just her and the men who'd killed her father. But her father's voice whispered in her mind, the voice she heard in dreams and quiet moments. Pride kills Sarah. Ego kills. Smart wins. Send word, she said. That afternoon, the 4th day of the Blackwood occupation, everything changed. Temperance Gray was 9 years old. Everyone called her Tempy. She had blonde braids and gap teeth and sold flowers her mother grew behind their boarding house. Sweet kid. Harmless. The kind of child that made you believe the world might not be completely evil. Her father ran the general store. Simon Gray. Good man. Honest prices. Fair dealings. When Wade Blackwood walked into that store and demanded protection money, Simon said no. It happened fast. Henry Moss, the quiet killer, put a bullet in Simon Gray's chest. Center mass. Professional. Simon dropped. Died before he hit the floor. Tempe saw it. Standing in the doorway with a basket of wildflowers. Saw her father murdered. Saw the killer step over the body. Saw Wade Blackwood counting money from the register like nothing had happened. The girl ran, screaming, through the street, into the Lucky Dollar where Eva was setting up for the evening service. Tempe crashed into Eva's arms, sobbing, incomprehensible. Eva held her, felt the small body shaking, felt rage building in her chest like a wildfire. Delilah got the story, piece by piece. Simon Gray dead, murdered for refusing to pay. The Blackwood gang still in the store, laughing about it. Sheriff Cobb arrived, took one look at the situation, walked back out, didn't even pretend to do his job. Deputy Nate Bridger came running, young, furious. He went for the general store. Eva caught him. "Don't," she said. "They killed Simon, murdered him in cold blood. And they'll kill you too, 6 against 1. I don't care. I'm the law. The law's a bullet against 6 killers. Use your head." Nate jerked away. "What would you have me do? Nothing. Let them get away with murder." Eva met his eyes. Let him see something there, something cold, something that made him step back. "I'll handle it," she said. You're a saloon girl." "I'm more than that." Before Nate could respond, a boy ran in, breathless. "They took her. The Blackwood gang. They took Tempe." The world stopped. Eva heard the words, processed them, felt something snap inside her chest, the last restraint, the last piece of control. "What?" Delilah whispered. "Took her right off the street. Wade Blackwood himself. Said if anyone interferes, he'll kill her slow." Nate grabbed his rifle. "I'm getting her back." "You'll get her killed," Eva said. Her voice had changed, colder, harder, the voice of someone who'd made decisions men died from. "They want attention, respect, fear. You charge in, they'll cut her throat to prove a point." "Then what?" Eva walked to the bar, reached under, pulled out the Colt .45 she'd kept hidden for 2 years, checked the cylinder, 6 rounds, clean, ready. The room went silent, everyone staring. Evangeline Thorne, sweet saloon girl, holding a gun like she'd been born to it. "Miss Eva," Nate breathed. "What are you doing?" Eva pulled her second gun from a hidden holster under her skirt. Another Colt, identical, checked it with the same professional precision, strapped the gun belt on. Suddenly she looked different, moved different. The mask was cracking. "What I should have done 3 days ago." "You can't fight them alone." Eva looked at him, really looked at him. Let him see who she was, what she was. But she didn't speak yet. Not the full truth, not yet. "Doc's coming with me," she said, glancing at Thatcher, who'd appeared in the doorway. The old surgeon nodded. "And when help arrives, we'll have backup. But that child doesn't have time. So I'm going now." She headed for the door. Nate followed. Doc followed. They had no choice. When someone walks into fire, you either join them or live knowing you didn't. The old mining office sat at Red Rock's eastern edge, abandoned, fallen to pieces, perfect for men who needed privacy for terrible things. Eva approached slow, careful, every sense sharp, her father's training. Move like water, see everything, commit to nothing until you commit to everything. She heard Tempe crying inside, heard Wade's voice, Crooked Pete laughing. They were enjoying this, the power, the control. Eva went through the door, no warning, no hesitation, just movement. 6 men, Tempe tied to a chair, Wade standing over her with a knife. They all turned, saw Eva, saw the guns. Wade smiled. "Well, the little waitress has teeth. Let the girl go. Or what you'll shoot us." Wade gestured to his men, all armed, all ready. "That's suicide math, sweetheart." "I know." Eva's hands stayed loose, ready. "But before I die, I guarantee I kill you. Question is whether that's worth it to you." Wade studied her. The smile faded. He saw something in her eyes, something that made him reassess. "You're not afraid," he said. "No. You should be. I've been afraid for 7 years. I'm done with it. Who are you really?" The door exploded inward. Deputy Nate Bridger and Doc Thatcher, both armed, both ready. Wade's men turned. Confusion. Numbers suddenly different. Eva moved, her father's voice. "Confusion is opportunity. Never wait for permission." She drew, both guns, fluid, faster than thought. The Colts came up like extensions of her arms. 7 years of practice, 10,000 draws, all for this moment. She fired, left gun. Crooked Pete's weapons went spinning. Right gun, Snake-Eye Jack's shoulder. He dropped. Wade lunged for Tempe. Eva shifted, fired. The knife flew from his hand. Perfect shot. Her father would have been proud. "Stop!" Everyone froze. Eva had both guns trained, one on Wade, one sweeping his remaining men. "Next person moves, I don't shoot to disarm." Wade raised his hands, slow. His men followed. They saw it now. The professional, the trained killer, not a waitress, something else entirely. Nate moved fast, cut Tempe's bonds. The girl ran to Doc Thatcher, safe. Eva didn't lower the guns. "Wade Blackwood, you're under arrest for murder. Drop your weapons." On what authority? Mine. You're not law. No, I'm something worse. Eva's voice carried steel. Drop your weapons. Wade's men looked at him, at Eva, at the mathematical certainty of their situation. Slowly they disarmed, but Wade smiled. You think this is over? You think arresting me changes anything? My father will come, with 20 men, 30. He'll burn this town to ash just to make a point. Eva stepped close, gun to Wade's head. Then let him come. She pulled the trigger. Click. Empty chamber. Psychological warfare. Her father's trick. Make them think they're dead. Then give them life. Make them grateful. Make them talk. Wade's legs gave out. He collapsed, breathing hard, realizing how close he'd come. Eva holstered her guns. Take them, deputy. Nate and Doc secured the gang, all 6, disarmed, defeated. As they walked back to town, as people emerged from buildings to stare, as word spread, Eva felt no triumph. Because Wade was right. Silas would come. The old man. The architect of her father's death. And Eva knew the real fight hadn't even started. 7 years of hunting was over. Now came the reckoning. The jail cell smelled of old sweat and defeat. Wade Blackwood sat on the iron cot, wrists shackled, face pale. His 5 men occupied the other 2 cells. Crooked Pete nursing a broken hand. Snake-Eye Jack's shoulder wrapped in bandages, courtesy of Doc Thatcher's reluctant care. Sheriff Hiram Cobb had disappeared. Rode out of Red Rock the moment he heard his paymasters were arrested. Smart man. Corrupt men always knew when to run. Deputy Nate Bridger stood guard. Young face aged by responsibility. He'd killed no one tonight, fired no shots, but he'd stood when it mattered. Eva respected that. She sat across from Wade in the sheriff's office. Dawn light creeping through dirty windows. Neither had slept. Wade because he was calculating survival. Eva because 7 years of waiting had finally crystallized into what came next. He'll be here in 3 days, Wade said, voice hoarse. My father. Maybe sooner if the rider pushed hard. I'm counting on it. Wade laughed, bitter. You don't understand. Silas Blackwood doesn't lose. When he comes, he won't bring 6 men. He'll bring 20, 30. Every gun he can hire. He'll surround this town and burn it until there's nothing left but ash and bones. Let him try. You're one woman. Fast, sure. Good, I'll give you that. But numbers win. Math wins. You can't beat 30 rifles no matter how quick your draw. Eva leaned forward. Your father made a mistake 7 years ago. He thought killing my father would end the Callaway line. Instead, he created me. Wade's eyes narrowed. Your father? What are you talking about? Eva pulled off the facade completely. Let truth fill the space between them. My name isn't Evangeline Thorne. It's Seraphina Callaway, daughter of Colonel Josiah Callaway, the Hawk. Your father's gang tortured him to death on a Montana road 7 years ago. I was 20 years old, hiding in the rocks where my father told me. I heard every scream. I watched him die. And I've spent every day since becoming what I needed to be to find you. Wade's face went white. Josiah's daughter, I'll be damned. Your father thought I died in the wilderness, thought the Callaway line ended with my father's burned corpse. He was wrong. Every bullet I've fired since then was aimed at this moment. Every skill I learned, every plan I made. All of it pointing to the day Silas Blackwood realizes he didn't destroy the Hawk, he just taught his daughter to fly. Wade studied her with new eyes, fear mixed with something like respect. You're insane. No, I'm patient. There's a difference. The door opened. Delilah Ashford entered carrying coffee. Behind her, Doc Thatcher. The old surgeon looked tired, looked every one of his 65 years. Town's in panic, Delilah said. Half want to run. Other half want to hand you over to Silas when he arrives. Easier than dying for someone else's vendetta. Can't blame them, Eva said. I can. Doc set down his medical bag. But blame doesn't stop bullets. We need a plan, real plan. Not just you standing in the street playing target. Eva stood, walked to the window, Red Rock spreading before her, 300 souls. Most had done nothing wrong except exist in the same space as evil. Now they'd pay for her revenge unless she was smart. Her father's voice, always her father's voice in the quiet moments. War isn't won by the strongest, it's won by the prepared. We fortify, Eva said. Turn Red Rock into a fortress. Every building a strong point, every corner a kill zone. Make Silas's numbers work against him. You're talking about a siege, Doc said. I'm talking about making him pay for every inch, making it cost so much that even if he wins, he loses. Nate appeared in the doorway. "Miss Eva, there's someone here. Says he knows you. Rode hard for 3 days straight." Eva's hand went to her gun. Instinct. 7 years of being hunted made you cautious. A man stepped past Nate. 52 years old, weathered face, gray beard streaked with white, eyes like flint. He wore buckskin and carried a Winchester like it was part of his arm. Everything about him screamed frontier, screamed cavalry, screamed dangerous. "Hello, Sarah," the man said, voice like gravel rolling down a canyon. "Been a long time." Eva's breath caught, memory flooding back. This man, younger then, riding beside her father, teaching her to track, to read sign, to survive. "Zeke," Ezekiel Grayson smiled, weathered lines deepening around his eyes. "Doc sent word you needed help. Figured I owed Josiah enough to ride hard from the Bitterroots." "Zeke Grayson," Delilah breathed. "I'll be damned. Heard you were dead." "Heard that myself once or twice. Disappointing rumor." Zeke crossed to Eva, gripped her shoulders, studied her face like reading a map. "You look like your father. Same eyes, same stubborn jaw, same fire that got him killed and kept him fighting till the end. Josiah would be proud. Or furious I'm about to get a town killed. Probably both. That was his way." Zeke released her, turned to the others. "Somebody want to brief me on what fresh hell we're walking into?" Doc explained. "The Blackwood gang, Wade's arrest, Silas coming with an army, Red Rock caught in the middle." Zeke listened without interruption, processed, calculated with the mind of a man who'd survived 40 years on the frontier. 30 guns, Zeke said finally. "Maybe more. Against what, a deputy, a doctor, a saloon owner, and Josiah's daughter. That's poor odds. I know. But not impossible. Your father faced worse at Adobe Walls. 15 cavalry against 200 Comanche. He lived. They didn't." "How?" Nate asked. Zeke's smile was wolf-thin. "Preparation. Discipline. Turning terrain into a weapon. Josiah didn't fight fair. He fought smart. Made the enemy come to him on ground he'd already won." He looked at Ava. "You remember the lessons?" "Everyone." "Then we start now. Sun's up. That means Silas is already riding. 3 days to prepare if we're lucky. 2 if we're not. We don't waste a second." The transformation began immediately. Zeke moved through Red Rock like a general surveying a battlefield. Eva beside him, her father's training overlaying Zeke's experience. Together they saw what the town could become. Main Street, wide, open, death trap for defenders, solution barricades, wagons, water troughs, anything that could stop a bullet, create cover, force attackers into channels where numbers meant nothing. Buildings, the saloon, the general store that had been Simon Gray's life, the hotel, each became a fortress. Windows sandbagged, rifles positioned, fields of fire calculated down to the inch. Zeke marked everything, drew diagrams, showed townsfolk who'd stayed where to shoot, when to run. "Most of you aren't soldiers," Zeke told them, his voice carrying authority earned through blood. "That's fine. Soldiers stand and die. Survivors move, shoot, relocate. Make them chase ghosts." Doc Thatcher took charge of medical, set up the saloon's back room as surgery, stockpiled bandages, instruments, whiskey for anesthetic. He'd been a battlefield surgeon once, Antietam, Gettysburg, the bloodiest days of the Civil War. He didn't talk about it, but the scars on his hands told stories written in other men's blood. Delilah coordinated civilians, women and children into the church basement, reinforced with every spare timber, one exit toward the hills. If everything went wrong, they'd run, live to bury the dead later. Nate Bridger became Ava's shadow, learning, watching. She taught him what her father had taught her. Don't aim for the target. Aim for where the target will be. Motion, prediction, that's how you survive. By noon of the first day, Red Rock had changed. Still a dying mining town, but now a dying mining town with teeth. Ava found time to visit the jail. Wade watched her approach. Something like respect in his eyes now. Fear, too. "Good. You're really doing this," he said. "Yes. You'll die. Everyone here will die. Maybe. But we'll take enough of your father's men with us that the whole territory will know. Silas Blackwood tried to break Red Rock. Red Rock broke him instead." Wade leaned back. "You want to know the truth about your father?" "The real truth." Eva went still. "I was there. I know the truth. You know what you saw, not what happened after." Wade's voice dropped. Intimate, cruel. "My father didn't torture Josiah for gold. There was no gold. That was just the excuse, the cover story. Then why? They were army brothers, cavalry scouts together, best friends my father said, rode together for 5 years, saved each other's lives a dozen times. Wade paused, savoring the knife before twisting it. Then your father reported mine for war crimes, killing Apache women and children after a raid, said it was murder not war, testified against him, got Silas dishonorably discharged, destroyed his career, his reputation, his entire life. The words hit Ava like fists. Her father had never mentioned Silas Blackwood before the ambush, never mentioned an old army friend turned enemy. What? My father blamed Josiah for everything that went wrong after, the drinking, the outlaw life, the violence, all of it traced back to that testimony. So when he caught Josiah on that Montana road, it wasn't about money, it was personal, revenge for perceived betrayal, for choosing honor over friendship. Eva's hands shook. She gripped the bars to steady them. He tortured a good man because that man had honor and he didn't. Honor, Wade spat. Honor got your father killed. Honor put you in hiding for 7 years. Honor's about to get this whole town slaughtered. Tell me again how valuable honor is. Eva stood, voice cold as mountain winter. My father died protecting the innocent, reporting war crimes, standing for what's right even when it cost him everything. That's not weakness. That's strength you'll never understand. Neither will Silas. She walked out, Wade's words chasing her, the truth settling like lead in her stomach. Her father hadn't died for money. He'd died for being decent in an indecent world, for choosing right over easy, justice over friendship. It made the coming fight mean everything. That night, Eva couldn't sleep, stood on the saloon balcony watching Red Rock prepare, saw Zeke directing men building barricades, Doc stockpiling medical supplies, Nate checking rifles, a town becoming an army because one woman had brought war to their doorstep. Second thoughts, Delilah joined her, brought whiskey. They drank in silence for a moment, the night air cool, stars infinite above the desert. Every thought is second, Eva said. I've been planning this for 7 years. Now it's here and all I can think is how many people might die. They're staying by choice. Are they? Or are they trapped because running means leaving everything? Does it matter? Silas would burn this town regardless. Wade killed Simon Gray. That made it war. You just gave them a chance to fight back. Eva sipped whiskey. Let it burn. My father used to say violence is the last option, that a smart man talks first, walks away second, fights third. You tried walking away. For 7 years you walked away, built a new life, new name, but the Blackwoods came to you. That makes this defense not aggression. Does it? Delilah gripped Ava's hand. Girl, I raised you after Josiah died, watched you cry yourself to sleep, watched you train until your hands bled, watched you become something harder, colder, but you never became them, never became cruel. You're still Josiah's daughter, still the girl who saves children, who protects the weak. Don't lose that in the blood that's coming. Eva met her eyes. What if I already have? Then you wouldn't be standing here questioning yourself. Killers don't doubt. Protectors do. Movement on the street. A rider coming hard. Dust cloud visible even in moonlight. Zeke emerged from the shadows, rifle ready, others gathering. The rider pulled up. Young man. Couldn't be more than 18. Terrified. Exhausted. Horse lathered nearly to death. Message, he gasped. From Silas Blackwood. For the woman calling herself Sarah Calloway. Eva descended the stairs. Took the envelope, heavy paper, quality. The boy rode off immediately. Smart. No one wanted to be near Red Rock when the storm broke. She opened the letter. Masculine handwriting, precise, educated. The penmanship of a man who'd once been an officer. Seraphina Calloway. I remember your father. Good man. Wrong man. Josiah cost me everything I valued. My rank, my honor, my future. I returned the favor. Heard you survived the wilderness. Heard you've been hunting my organization. Impressive for a woman alone, but now you've taken my son, my men, made this personal beyond business. I'm coming with enough force to erase Red Rock from the map. You have 2 choices. Release Wade and his men. Ride out. I'll let you live to run another 7 years, or stay. Die with everyone you've endangered. Your father chose honor over sense. Died screaming because of it. Don't make his mistake. You have until dawn in 2 days. Choose wisely. Silas Blackwood. Eva read it twice, then handed it to Zeke. He scanned it, passed it to Doc. The message circulated, every defender reading their potential death sentence. Well, Nate asked, voice tight. What do we do? Eva looked at the faces surrounding her. Young, old, scared, determined. People who'd stayed when leaving would have been smarter, who'd chosen to fight because sometimes fighting was the only dignity left. We prepare, Eva said. We turn this town into hell for anyone stupid enough to attack it. And when Silas Blackwood arrives, we show him what happens when you underestimate a Calloway. The second day blurred into motion. Every hour mattered, every preparation critical. Zeke taught advanced tactics. They'll probe first, test our defenses, find weak points, let them. We give ground deliberately, draw them in. Then we close the trap. Josiah called it the wolf's jaw. Open wide, then snap shut. Doc organized triage with military precision. Gut shots to the surgery. Limbs we tourniquet and move. Head wounds we make comfortable. No time for sentiment. No time for hope when there is none. Delilah stockpiled ammunition, counted bullets like currency, because in the coming fight that's exactly what they'd be, each one a life, each one irreplaceable. Eva drilled with Nate, teaching him her father's methods. Don't think, react. Your body knows what to do if your mind gets out of the way. Thinking gets you killed. Training keeps you alive. Late second day, a tremor ran through town. Not earthquake, hoofbeats, distant but approaching. Someone shouted. People rushed to the barricades, but it wasn't Silas. Not yet. 5 riders, not Blackwood's men. Something else. They approached slow, hands visible, non-threatening, wary. Zeke met them at the barricade, talked low, nodded, waved them through. They were miners. From camps, north and west. Word had spread through the territory like wildfire. The Blackwood gang arrested. Silas coming for revenge. Red Rock preparing to stand. These men had their own grievances. Blackwood protection rackets, murdered friends, stolen claims, daughters threatened. Heard you might need extra guns, their leader said. Barrel-chested man named Callahan. Hands like shovels, voice like grinding stone. Figured we owe Blackwood some payback. Figure we owe it to Simon Gray too. Good man. Fair dealer. 5 became 8, then 12, then 15. Men drifting in from the territories like iron to a magnet. Not soldiers, not gunslingers, just people tired of being afraid. Tired of men like Silas Blackwood owning the world through fear and violence. By nightfall of the second day, Red Rock's defenders numbered 23. Still outnumbered, still outgunned, but no longer alone. Eva stood in the church that evening, empty except for her and God and memories. She hadn't prayed since her father died, hadn't seen the point. If God existed, he'd watched Josiah Calloway scream, watched an innocent man tortured, done nothing. But she knelt now, not for salvation, for strength. Papa, she whispered to the shadows, if you can hear me, if any part of you remains, I need you, need your wisdom, your calm. I'm about to lead these people into battle. Some will die, maybe all of us. I need to know I'm doing the right thing, that this isn't just revenge dressed as justice. Silence. Of course silence. The dead didn't answer. Only the living had to carry their weight. But in the silence memory, her father's voice, teaching her to shoot, teaching her to think, teaching her the difference between a warrior and a murderer. The gun is a tool, Sarah, like a hammer, like a plow. It has no morality. The person holding it gives it purpose. Hold it to protect you're a guardian. Hold it to conquer you're a tyrant. Never forget which one you are. Eva stood. She knew which one she was. The fight tomorrow wouldn't change that. It would only prove it. Dawn of the third day broke cold. Desert sunrise painting the sky red. Appropriate. Blood-colored morning for what was coming. Defenders took positions, rifles loaded, water stockpiled. Last letters written for families who might need them. Last prayers whispered to gods who might or might not listen. Eva wore her father's gun belt, the one Delilah had saved from the Montana ambush. Leather worn smooth by Josiah's hands, holsters positioned perfect. She'd practiced the draw 10,000 times. Now it would matter. Zeke found her on the saloon roof, best vantage point. Could see 2 miles in every direction, the desert spreading like an ocean of dust. You ready? He asked. No, you. Never am. That's how you know it matters. They stood together, watching the horizon, waiting for the dust cloud that would signal approaching doom. Your father, Zeke said quietly. Last time I saw him, day before he died, he told me something. Said if anything happened to him, I should find you. Tell you he was proud, that you were the best thing he'd ever done, that you were stronger than you knew. stronger than he ever was. Eva's throat tightened. He said that, verbatim. Josiah had a sense about things, knew that Montana Run was dangerous, knew it might be his last, wanted you to know regardless, wanted you to know he didn't die afraid. He died knowing he'd raised someone who could finish what he started. Someone who could stand against evil and not break. I've spent 7 years trying to make him proud. Sarah, Zeke's hand on her shoulder, gentle. He was already proud. This fight isn't about earning his approval. It's about finishing what he started, standing for what he believed. That's legacy. That's immortality. Not monuments, not stories. Living the values someone taught you. Movement. Far horizon. Dust rising like smoke. They were coming. Eva raised the spyglass. Counted riders. 28 visible. More might be behind. Silas Blackwood at the front. She could tell by posture, by the way others deferred, by the way he sat his horse like a man who owned the world. 62 years old, still straight in the saddle, still commanding. Everything Wade was but refined by decades of violence and cunning. This was the man who'd tortured her father, the architect of 7 years of pain, and he was riding straight into the trap she'd spent 3 days building. "Signal the others," Eva said, voice steady. "It's time." Zeke descended, gave orders. Defenders tensed, checked weapons, said final prayers. Eva stayed on the roof, watching Silas approach. She could run, could climb down, disappear into the desert. The old Eva might have. The girl who'd hidden in Montana rocks watching her father die. But that girl was gone. 7 years of training, of hunting, of becoming what her father had trained her to be. All of it led here. To this rooftop, this moment, this reckoning. Silas Blackwood stopped his column 200 yards out, just beyond rifle range. Smart, cautious, everything a career outlaw learned to be. His voice carried, amplified by desert silence. "Sarah Calloway, I know you're there. I know you're listening. Come out. Let's talk like civilized people." Eva stood, visible. Let him see her. See that she wasn't hiding. Silas smiled. Even at this distance she could see it. Cold, calculating. "There you are, Josiah's little girl. All grown up, pretty thing. Shame what's about to happen. Release my son, release my men, ride out, I'll let you live." No. Then everyone in Red Rock dies. Men, women, children, all of them. Because you wanted revenge more than sense. Eva's voice cut the air like a blade. "You tortured my father for honor, killed him for doing what was right. This isn't revenge. This is justice 7 years overdue." Silas laughed, the sound carrying across the desert. "Justice. Your father hid behind that word too, right before he begged for his life." Rage, white-hot rage. Eva's hand moved to her gun. Zeke had climbed back up, touched her arm, gentle, grounding. "Don't," Zeke whispered. "He wants you angry. Angry makes mistakes." Eva forced breath, forced calm. "My father didn't beg. He died knowing his daughter would finish what he started, knowing you'd underestimate her, knowing someday somewhere a Calloway would make you pay." Big words. Let's see if you back them. Silas raised his hand. 28 riders charged. The Battle of Red Rock had begun. The thunder of hoofbeats shook Red Rock's foundations. 28 riders coming hard. Dust cloud rising like a biblical plague. Silas Blackwood's army bearing down on a town that had chosen defiance over surrender. Eva watched from the saloon roof. Calm, centered. Her father's training overlaying the chaos. She'd spent 3 days turning Red Rock into a killing ground. Now she'd see if preparation beat numbers. "Hold," she called down, voice carrying to the defenders positioned throughout town. "Let them commit. Let them think we're afraid." The riders spread into a line. Textbook cavalry charge. They'd hit Main Street hard, overwhelm the barricades, pour through into the heart of town. Standard tactics, predictable, exactly what Eva wanted. 100 yards, the sound deafening now. War cries, guns firing wild. Intimidation tactics designed to break civilian will before contact. But Red Rock's defenders held. Miners who'd faced cave-ins and lived. Shopkeepers who'd survived Apache raids. Deputy Nate Bridger gripping his rifle with white knuckles but standing firm. These weren't soldiers. They were something harder. People protecting home. 50 yards. Eva could see faces now. Young men, old men, killers all. Hired guns who'd sold their souls for Silas Blackwood's coin. They expected easy victory, expected civilians to scatter like quail. They were about to learn different. "Now," Eva said. Zeke fired the first shot, Winchester barking from the general store roof. A rider fell, horse screaming, confusion rippling through the charge. The momentum faltered for a heartbeat, then Red Rock erupted. 23 rifles from hidden positions, windows, rooftops, behind barricades, crossfire calculated down to the inch. Not wild shooting, disciplined, aimed, every bullet mattering because bullets were finite and enemies were not. 3 more riders dropped in the first volley. Horses panicked. The organized charge fragmented. Some tried to push through. Others veered left toward the alleys. Exactly as Eva predicted. Exactly as Zeke had planned. "Second positions," she shouted. Defenders shifted. The alley routes weren't escape. They were funnels. Narrow spaces where numbers meant nothing. Where 2 good shooters could hold off 10. Where preparation beat desperation. Gunfire echoed like thunder trapped between buildings. Smoke turned the morning hazy. Men screamed. Horses screamed. The organized charge dissolved into chaos. Silas saw it happening. Pulled his main force back. Out of rifle range. Regrouping. He'd lost 6 men in 30 seconds. Not the easy victory he'd expected. Not the terrified civilians he'd been promised. Eva reloaded. Hands steady. Muscle memory from 10,000 practice sessions. She'd fired 4 shots. 4 hits. Center mass. Clean kills. No time for mercy in battle. No room for hesitation. "First blood to us," Zeke called up. Grim satisfaction in his voice. But Eva knew better. Silas had 22 guns left. Red Rock had 23. The numbers were almost even now. But Silas's men were professionals. Hers were shopkeepers and miners playing soldier. The equation would shift. Question was when. Silas called a halt 200 yards out. Consulted with his lieutenants. Eva watched through the spyglass, reading body language. Silas was angry, pointing, gesturing, but also calculating, adapting. He hadn't survived 40 years as an outlaw by being stupid or inflexible. Minutes passed. Tense silence. Red Rock held position, conserving ammunition, drinking water, checking wounds. 2 defenders hit in the first exchange, neither fatal. Doc Thatcher already working with practiced efficiency. The old surgeon's hands steady as bedrock despite the chaos. Then Silas split his force. 8 riders circled left, 8 right. 6 stayed center with him. Classic flanking maneuver. Force the defenders to split attention, find the weak point, exploit it, textbook tactics. "They're spreading out," Nate called. "Let them," Eva replied. "We planned for this." The flanking forces moved wide, trying to circle around, come at Red Rock from multiple directions, but the town sat in a natural bowl, hills behind, desert around. Only 3 real approaches. Eva had fortified all 3. Left flank hit the livery stable defenses. 4 miners with repeating rifles, not trained soldiers, but men who'd hunted their whole lives, who knew patience, who knew when to shoot and when to wait, who understood that every bullet was precious. The Blackwood riders charged, met a wall of lead. 2 dropped immediately. The others scattered, took cover behind rocks and scrub brush, started trading shots with the miners, a stalemate developing. Right flank encountered Zeke and 3 others at the church. The old cavalry scout moved like he was 30 again, anticipating, redirecting, turning the stone building into a fortress. The attackers tried twice to rush the position, failed both times, pulled back bleeding, learning respect for defenders who knew their ground. Center position. Silas and 6 men facing the main barricade where Eva had positioned herself, Nate beside her, Delilah with a shotgun, 3 others with rifles. The heart of Red Rock's defense. Silas rode forward, alone, stopped just beyond rifle range. Arrogant, confident. Everything Wade had been but refined by age and experience. "Sarah Calloway," he called, voice carrying clear. "You've got spirit, I'll give you that. Your father had spirit too, right until the end." Eva said nothing. Let him talk. Every second he wasted was a second her people rested. Every word he spent was breath wasted. "I'm going to tell you something he never knew," Silas continued. "Something I saved for the end, right before I put the final bullet in him." Eva's jaw tightened. Nate glanced at her, worried, but she stayed focused, stayed cold. "Your mother," Silas said, "Sarah Calloway. Did you know how she really died?" Ice in Eva's veins. Her mother had died giving birth. Everyone said so. Her father said so. It was the one truth she'd never questioned. "Childbirth's dangerous," Silas called. "Especially when the midwife's been paid to make sure complications happen, paid by a man who wanted Josiah Calloway broken, wanted him to know what loss felt like before the real pain began." The world tilted. Eva gripped the barricade. "You're lying." "Am I? Ask yourself. Why would I lie now? What do I gain? Silas smiled. Cold, reptilian. I killed your mother before you ever drew breath. Killed your father 20 years later. Made him die knowing the woman he loved was murdered by the man he'd betrayed. And now, I'm going to kill you. 3 generations of Callaways erased because your father had the nerve to call me a murderer. Rage. Pure molten rage. Eva's hand moved to her gun. Every instinct screaming to charge, to empty her Colt into Silas Blackwood's face, to make him pay for everything, for her mother, for her father, for 7 years of emptiness. Nate grabbed her arm. Don't. That's what he wants. He's baiting you, making you emotional so you'll make mistakes. He killed my mother. Maybe he's lying. Doesn't matter right now. What matters is keeping everyone here alive. Eva forced breath. In, out, control. Her father's voice cutting through the fury. Emotion is the enemy. Discipline is the weapon. She released the gun, stepped back from the barricade, turned her back on Silas Blackwood, refused to give him the satisfaction. Coward, Silas taunted. Just like Josiah. All talk until the real pain starts. Eva ignored him, focused on her people. Status report. All positions. Calls came back. Left flank holding. Right flank holding. Center secure. Ammunition good. No deaths yet. Miracle of miracles, they were winning. But Silas wasn't done. He'd pulled back to regroup. Consulted with his remaining men, 16 now. Red Rock had killed or wounded 12 in the opening exchanges. Impossible odds turning possible. Then Eva saw what Silas was planning. Saw the riders dismounting, saw them pulling objects from saddlebags, bottles, rags, liquid sloshing inside, coal oil. Fire, she breathed. They're going to burn us out. Zeke saw it too, cursed in 3 languages. Buildings are wood, tinder dry from months without rain. One good fire and this whole town goes up. We evacuate. To where desert they'll run us down like rabbits, pick us off one by one. Eva's mind raced, calculating, processing. Her father had faced fire at adobe walls. How had he survived? What had he done water? Adobe walls had a well. Red Rock had 3. Delilah, Eva called. Get every bucket, every barrel, every container that holds water, wet down the buildings. Focus on the saloon and church, stone construction, structures that matter. Let the rest burn if we have to. We don't have enough water for everything. Then we choose what burns and what doesn't. Move. Delilah rallied the women who'd been sheltering in the church basement. They emerged like ants from a disturbed hill. Organized, efficient. Bucket brigades forming, drawing from wells, soaking wood, creating fire breaks with wet blankets. Silas's men lit their bottles, flames dancing on the rags. They charged, not full cavalry, skirmishers, fast riders throwing incendiaries, hit-and-run tactics designed to spread chaos. The first bottle smashed against the hotel. Flames exploded. Wood caught immediately. Within seconds, the building was burning, black smoke rising. Second bottle hit the general store where Simon Gray had died. More fire, more smoke. Red Rock's defenders fired, dropped 3 riders, but the others completed their throws. 4 buildings burning now. The town filling with smoke and heat and the crackle of destruction. Eva watched her careful preparations burning. Watched defensive positions becoming unusable. Silas was adapting, forcing them out of fortifications, into the open where his guns could find them. Fall back to secondary positions, she ordered, shouting over the fire's roar. Church and saloon, everyone converge, bring wounded, bring ammunition, leave everything else. The retreat was controlled chaos, defenders abandoning buildings, running through smoke, carrying injured, coughing, eyes streaming. Silas's men picked off 2, a miner named Collins, a shopkeeper named Reed. Good men dying because Eva had chosen this fight. No time for guilt, no time for second thoughts, only survival. The church became the last bastion, stone construction, harder to burn, defensible. 21 defenders now, ammunition running low, water lower, but alive, still fighting, still standing. Silas regrouped his men, 13 left. The math had shifted, nearly even, but his were rested, well-armed, professional killers who'd done this before. Red Rock's defenders were exhausted, low on bullets, terrified but determined. Eva found Nate in the church. He'd taken a graze across the ribs. Doc had bandaged it. The deputy's face was pale but determined. We can't win, Nate said quietly. Not like this. He'll just wait us out. No food, no water. Eventually we surrender or die of thirst. I know. So what do we do? Eva looked at the people around her. Miners, shopkeepers, Delilah, Doc, Zeke, people who'd trusted her, followed her. Believed her plan would work. Believed she could protect them. She'd been wrong. Preparation wasn't enough. Numbers weren't enough. Silas Blackwood had 40 years of experience. She had 7 years of training. The gap was showing. But giving up meant everyone died. Meant her father's death meant nothing. Meant Silas won completely. "I end it," Eva said. "What?" "This is my fight, my vendetta. These people are dying for my revenge." She checked her guns, full cylinders, 6 shots each, 12 bullets. "I'm going to give Silas what he wants. Me. That's suicide." "No, that's justice." Eva stood. "Tell everyone to cease fire. White flag. I'm negotiating." "Eva, please. There has to be another way." "There isn't, and you know it." She touched his face, gentle. "You're a good man, Nate. Better than me. Better than this town deserves. When this is over, you make sure people remember why they fought. Not for revenge, for each other." She walked out before he could argue. Into the smoke, into the firelight, into the hell she'd created. White cloth tied to a rifle. Universal symbol. Ceasefire. Parley. The oldest rule of war. Silas saw it. Called his men to hold. Rode forward. Stopping 30 feet from Eva. Both armed, both ready. The culmination of 7 years orbiting each other like binary stars. Up close, Silas looked every one of his 62 years. Gray beard, weathered skin like old leather, eyes hard as January ice. But still dangerous, still sharp. Still the man who'd tortured her father. "Sarah Calloway," he said, "in the flesh. You look like your mother. Same fire. Same foolishness that got her killed. You wanted me. Here I am. Let the town go." "Why would I do that?" "Because this is between us. Always was. They're just caught in the middle. Let them leave. You can have me. Do whatever you want. Just let them go." Silas considered. "Tempting, but I don't trust you. Moment they're gone, you fight. Kill me. Maybe some of my men. Escape in the confusion. I didn't survive 40 years by being stupid." "Then what do you want?" "I want you to know what your father felt. The helplessness, the despair. I want you to watch everyone you care about die. Then I want you alive, broken, knowing you failed. Knowing the Calloway line ends not with glory but with whimpering surrender. That's justice." Eva's hand drifted to her gun. Silas noticed, smiled. "Go ahead, draw. My men have orders. You kill me, they slaughter everyone in that church. Women, children, all of them. That what you want? Your father's legacy written in innocent blood." Stalemate. Eva saw it, felt the trap closing. Silas had won, not through superior force, through superior cruelty. Then a voice, old, cracked, carrying from the church. "Silas Blackwood." Doc Thatcher emerged, hands empty, walking slow. The old surgeon approached until he stood beside Eva, 65 years old but standing straight, unafraid. "Doc," Silas said. "Cornelius Thatcher. Long time. Fort Benton, 1863. You remember?" "I remember. You were the surgeon who put my report of misconduct in official record, testified against me at the court-martial, cost me my commission. You slaughtered Apache families, women, children, civilians who'd surrendered under white flag. That wasn't war, that was murder. They were savages. They were people. Josiah Calloway saw that. I saw that. Army saw that. You paid the price for your crimes." Silas's face darkened. "And I've been paying ever since. Dishonorably discharged, blacklisted from every legitimate occupation, forced into outlaw life. You and Josiah destroyed me. You destroyed yourself. We just documented it. Just held you accountable. Semantics. Point is, you took everything, my career, my honor, my future. So I took Josiah's life, his daughter's peace, and now I'll take yours." Doc smiled, thin, knowing. "You can't. Can't, old man. I have 13 guns. You have prayers and desperation. You have 13 guns. We have something better." Doc looked at Eva. "Tell him." Eva understood. The plan they discussed. The contingency. The last desperate gambit prepared in secret. "Wade," Eva said. "Your son. He's still in the jail. Still alive. You kill us, the miners I sent north yesterday with instructions we'll execute him. Slow, painful. Everything you did to my father. Every torture. Every scream." Silas's composure cracked. "You're bluffing." "Am I? You taught me patience, planning, covering contingencies. Think I'd put all my pieces on one board. Think I'd bet everything on this fight without insurance." Silence. Silas calculating, weighing, his son's life against his revenge. The thing he loved most against the thing he wanted most. "Prove it," he said finally. Eva produced a piece of paper. Wade's handwriting. A message written under duress yesterday. Insurance, leverage, the kind of planning her father would have approved. Father, if you're reading this, I'm a hostage. The Calloway woman has men ready to kill me if you attack Red Rock. Stand down, please. I don't want to die for revenge. Wade. Silas read it. Read it again. Rage and fear warring on his face, the mask slipping. The cold killer becoming a father afraid. You won't do it, he said. You're not a murderer. Josiah raised you better. My father raised me to protect the innocent, to stop evil, whatever it takes. Eva's voice went cold as winter steel. You taught me the rest, the cruelty, the calculation, the willingness to do terrible things for a goal. Congratulations. I learned your lessons well. This is a bluff. Test it, attack, kill us all, then ride back to find your son's body, or you can walk away, take your men, leave Arizona territory, never come back. Wade lives, we live, everyone lives. That's not justice. No, that's mercy. Something you never gave my father. Something I'm offering despite every instinct screaming not to. The moment hung. Silas Blackwood at a crossroads, his nature demanding blood, his love for his son demanding restraint. Then movement. From the desert, riders appearing, not Silas's men, others, 20 at least, flying no colors, no allegiance. Zeke emerged from the church, rifle ready. Reinforcements. Sent word to every cavalry post within 200 miles, called in every favor, every debt Josiah Calloway earned in 20 years of service. Those are Army Scouts, Marshals, Texas Rangers, law arriving whether you like it or not, Silas. Silas saw the trap complete, caught between Red Rock's defenders and approaching law. His force depleted, his son hostage, every advantage evaporated. You planned this, he said, not angry, almost admiring. Every step, every contingency, just like Josiah would. I'm my father's daughter. Yes, you are. Silas looked at his men, at the approaching riders, at the town he'd failed to destroy. Stand down, we're leaving. What? One of his lieutenants. Boss, we can still... I said stand down. Silas's voice cracked like a whip. My son's life isn't worth this fight. We're done. But Eva saw something in his eyes. Calculation, planning. He was retreating, not surrendering. The war wasn't over. Just this battle. Your guns, Eva said. Leave them, all of you. Walk away with just your horses, your lives, nothing else. You expect us to ride unarmed through Apache country? I expect you to face the same odds you've given others. Fair trade, karma, justice. Silas smiled. Thin, cold. Fair. That's rich coming from you, after holding my son hostage, after threatening execution. I learned from the best, you. For a long moment they stared at each other. 2 generations of pain, 2 philosophies of violence, revenge and justice blurred beyond recognition. Finally Silas nodded to his men. Do it, guns down. 13 rifles clattered to the dust, 13 pistols, knives, everything. The Blackwood gang disarmed, neutered, broken. Now ride, Eva said. They mounted, turned, but Silas paused, looked back at Eva, promise in his eyes, threat, certainty. This isn't over, he said. You took my son. I'll take everything you love. Maybe not today, maybe not this year, but someday, when you're comfortable, happy, safe, I'll come, and you'll know what your father felt. Then I'll be waiting. Because unlike you, I don't make threats. I make promises. You come for me or mine again, I won't offer mercy. I won't offer terms. I'll just kill you. No warning, no hesitation. That's my promise. Silas's smile widened. Josiah's daughter indeed. He'd be proud and horrified. He rode, his men followed, 13 broken outlaws fleeing into the desert. The approaching lawmen intercepted them. Marshals' badges glinting in firelight, arrests made, the Blackwood gang's reign ending not in glory, but handcuffs. Eva watched until they disappeared. Then her legs gave out, collapsed. 7 years of tension releasing all at once. Nate caught her, held her. It's over, he said. You won. But Eva knew better. Silas was arrested, not dead. Men like him didn't stay caged. He'd escape, bribe his way out, return someday. The threat remained. The war wasn't over, just this battle. Red Rock burned for 3 hours before the fires died. 6 buildings lost, 3 defenders dead. Simon Gray, Collins, Reed, 7 wounded. The town scarred but alive, changed forever but standing. The lawmen stayed 2 days, took statements, documented everything. The marshal, a hard man named Garrett with scars on his face and ice in his eyes, spoke with Ava privately. "Silas Blackwood's going to hang," Garrett said. "Multiple murder charges, war crimes from his cavalry days. We've got him cold. Judge Parker in Fort Smith doesn't let killers walk. Silas will get a fair trial. Then a short rope. Justice will be served." Ava wanted to believe it, wanted to trust the system her father had believed in. But 7 years of hunting had taught her hard lessons. Systems failed, juries were bribed, witnesses disappeared. "And if he escapes?" Garrett met her eyes. "Understood. Then you finish what you started, but legal. As a deputy marshal, if you're interested. Could use someone with your skills, someone who understands the frontier. Who knows how these men think? I'm done with violence." "No, you're done with revenge. Violence for protection, for law. That's different. Think about it." He left. Ava stood in the ruins of Red Rock. Town she'd endangered, lives she'd risked. All for vengeance disguised as justice. Delilah found her at sunset. The saloon owner looked exhausted, older, but alive, standing. "Going to rebuild?" Ava asked. "Got insurance, got help. Red Rock's tougher than it looks." Delilah touched Ava's hand. "Question is, what are you going to do?" "I don't know. You could stay, help rebuild, make this home for real instead of just hiding place. After everything, after I nearly got everyone killed. You also saved us, stood when we were too afraid, gave us hope. That counts for something. That counts for everything." Ava looked at the horizon, desert stretching forever. Freedom, escape. She could ride out, disappear again. New name, new life, leave the violence behind. But her father's voice, always her father's voice. The gun is a tool. The person holding it gives it purpose. She'd held it for revenge, used it for justice. Now maybe she could hold it for protection, for building instead of destroying. "I'll stay," Ava said. "Help rebuild. Try to be what my father wanted. Protector, not avenger." 3 months passed. Red Rock rose from ashes like a phoenix. New buildings, new people. The story spread through the territories. Town that stood against the Blackwood gang. Won through courage and tactics, and one woman's 7-year hunt for justice. Ava helped, worked alongside miners and carpenters, taught defensive shooting to anyone who asked. Not for war, for protection, for the confidence that came from skill and preparation. Nate courted her proper. Church socials, town dances. He knew what she was, what she'd done. Loved her anyway. Maybe because of it, maybe despite it. Doc Thatcher stayed, became town doctor permanent, rarely spoke of his past. But sometimes Ava would catch him staring at the horizon, remembering battles fought, lives saved, ghosts that never left. Zeke remained for a month. Then the frontier called. Too much civilization made him itch. He rode out one morning with a wave and a promise to return. A promise Ava believed. Wade Blackwood stood trial, sentenced to 20 years hard labor in Yuma Territorial Prison. Wouldn't see freedom until he was 55, if he survived that long. Prisons were hard on pretty men who'd lived by charm and cruelty. Silas Blackwood escaped 3 weeks before his execution. Killed 2 guards. Disappeared into the territories. Marshal Garrett sent word. Warned Ava. The old killer was free. The threat remained. Ava received the news without surprise, without fear. She'd known. Deep down. Men like Silas didn't end clean. She prepared. Not obsessively. Not consuming her life, but methodically. Guns cleaned, skills sharp, plans made, eyes always watching the horizon, because Silas would come. Someday. Somehow. He'd made a promise. And Ava had learned. Promises in the West were paid in blood or honor. No middle ground. But until then, she lived. Helped Red Rock thrive. Fell in love with a good man who wore a badge and believed in law. Built the life her father had wanted for her. Young Tempe Gray, orphaned at 9, found a home with Delilah Ashford. The girl helped in the saloon kitchen, learning to bake the pies her mother once made. Ava became her teacher, her protector, her example. Some nights she'd find Tempe staring at the spot where her father died. No words helped, just presence, just time. Just showing her that grief didn't have to destroy you. It could make you stronger. 1 year after the battle, Red Rock dedicated a monument. Stone marker in the town square. Names of the fallen carved deep. Simon Gray, Collins, Reed. Good men who'd stood when standing mattered, and below their names a dedication. In memory of Colonel Josiah the Hawk Calloway, who taught his daughter that courage isn't the absence of fear, it's acting despite it. That justice isn't revenge, it's protecting those who cannot protect themselves. That honor is choosing the hard right over the easy wrong. Red Rock stands because his legacy lives. Eva read it through tears. Nate beside her, Delilah, Doc, Tempe, the whole town, people who'd become family. He'd be proud, Doc said quietly, or disappointed I didn't walk away. Choose peace. He'd be proud you chose to protect instead of destroy, that you learned the difference, that you became what he always knew you could be. That night Eva stood on the church steps, where she'd made her stand, where she'd faced Silas Blackwood and chosen mercy over murder. The desert spread before her, infinite, beautiful, dangerous. Somewhere out there Silas planned his return, sharpened his knives, fed his hate, let him come. Eva wasn't the broken girl who'd watched her father die, wasn't the revenge-obsessed hunter who'd spent 7 years preparing for one moment. She was something new, something her father and Silas had both created. Guardian, protector, woman who'd learned violence but chose peace when possible, who'd hold the gun for defense, never conquest. The West was changing, law spreading, civilization creeping, but wild places remained, places where men like Silas thrived, where evil needed opposition. Eva would be that opposition, not alone, never alone again. With Nate, with Doc, with Tempe, with every person who chose to stand against darkness. Her father's legacy wasn't revenge completed, it was a philosophy lived. Violence as last resort, protection as highest calling, honor as the line between warrior and murderer. She touched the guns at her hips, her father's guns, worn smooth by his hands, by hers, tools that had taken life, that would protect it now. "I'm ready, Papa," she whispered to the wind. "Whatever comes, I'm ready." The desert wind answered, carrying dust, carrying promise, carrying the weight of all the choices that made a person who they were. Eva turned back to Red Rock, to home, to the life she'd almost destroyed but ultimately saved, to the future bright with possibility. Behind her the desert kept its secrets, kept Silas Blackwood somewhere in its vastness, kept the promise of reckoning someday, but that was someday. Today Eva had people to protect, a town to build, a man to love, a child to raise, a life to live beyond revenge. That was enough. That was everything. The thugs who'd harassed the saloon waitress learned too late. She wasn't just a waitress. She was Serafina Calloway, the Hawk's daughter, the West's best shooter, and she'd just taught the Blackwood gang the most important lesson the frontier had to offer. Underestimate the quiet ones at your peril. Because quiet doesn't mean weak. It means patient, prepared, dangerous in ways loud men never understand until it's too late. 7 years ago, Eva had lost her father, lost everything, became a ghost, hunting ghosts through territories that didn't care. Today she was found, home, whole. And if Silas Blackwood wanted to test that, wanted to try breaking her again, she'd show him what his cruelty had created. Not a victim, not a killer, a protector. Her father's true legacy, his greatest lesson, the gift that would keep Red Rock safe for generations. Violence should never be first choice. But when evil comes, when innocence is threatened, when all other options fail, you stand, you fight, you win. Not because you're the fastest, or the meanest, or the most willing to die, but because you're the most prepared, the most disciplined, the one who understands that battles are won before the first shot fires. That's what the Hawk had taught. That's what Eva had become, and Red Rock would never forget.